Hello, the game has started. It's my opponent to go first. I've got a balanced rack, but the F and the J mean it's not a bingo-y rack. But certainly too good to change. Nice start for opponent. Now, I have Fijoa in column 6, and it would be nice to get rid of the F with the J. Are there any alternative plays? Let me see what this scores. So that's 32 and a good rack leave. What would look better than this? Well, I'm struggling to see anything, so I am going with this. Pretty good. All bingo-y tiles, slightly unbalanced. But do I have a bingo through any of the floating vowels? And there is a selection of them. So how about the O? I have the con prefix, but I'm not seeing anything through that. How about the E? Wow, that looks really close to something. I would have pre-enax should opponent put an E next to this one. But is there an 8 here? And how about the I? Well, I'm not seeing a bingo through any of these vowels. And well, the E and the I, the two good ones, remain available. So let me dwell a little further on this E. So the S likely to be in last position. I've got the pre-prefix. No, I'm not seeing anything. And how about a play through the I, which could be a double-double, even without being a bingo? No. Okay, well, that's a little frustrating. I can't get value from the Z because only my S goes underneath OY. So, how about a play down column 5? That doesn't work. I've got nothing which goes in front of the F. How about column 7? Not seeing anything there. Wow, what a tricky rack. Now, I note that an opponent has played his S. He has got 41 points, so that could have been simply a reflection of the score. Or it could mean he's holding on to a further S. I'm tempted to play through this E or the I simply to dampen down the board. So how about playing Crip for 16? That does take an E, but this is a pretty good 4-letter set, and I'd like the board to stay open while I'm behind. Crip for 16. Pretty good. I have eluents and unlaced, possibly one other. But do any of these play? Yes, because eluents and oi works. Is there a third bingo? Lunates, and that plays above OY. Now, how about a bingo down from the D of Diatso, or through it? No, not seeing anything. How about a play with C and D? Not seeing anything there. How about the F? That looks potentially useful as a floater, but this is such a good rack that most things will. Great, my bingos are not impacted. And just 22 points for opponent. Perhaps he was worried about plays coming down column F. So I can now play my bingos in row B, but row G is better. And row J better still. And this is the best lane simply because of access to triple word squares, either the one in row H or the one in the top middle and top right. So eluents for 67. Pretty good. Unfortunately for me, opponent has taken out the F, otherwise I would have had notifier. Now this looks at first blush quite a promising rack, and there are quite a few floaters in eluents. So I have ironiest through the S. Do I have anything through the D or through CD? So I would have, wow, fantastic, ironiest remains available. Quaver takes an S and a Y. Now, do I have anything through the V? No. Now, I wondered earlier when opponent played Say whether he held back an S. Quaver could lead one to a similar inference, but it's a light inference, since if you have a Q and a V, your priority is probably focused on getting rid of both of those on the same turn, if you can. Now, I've seen a bingo through the S. Do I have one through the N or T? Well, yes, I have Tenorini. And I'm slightly wincing about this, but I'm going to unwince because I thought I was providing hot access to this triple word square, and I'm not. Tenorini does not take an S at the end. And I'm going with this for 68. Pretty grim. However, it's an open board. And war and wall are both good. So I could play walls in column 14. Not a fabulous play, but it sorts the rack out. And I also have Blawn on my rack. And there's nothing in this rack that I particularly want to keep hold of. Still one Y to come for Quavery and two S's. Now I have Brawl. I have Rawl, W-R-A-W-L, in row H. I think that's the best I've seen so far. And if that is taken, I do have Blaw in column 11, which is not as good, but still scores quite well and helps to sort the rack out. Cruft and Crip have really stifled the top left of the board, but the other three segments are still very much available, which is good. I don't have a huge lead. A bingo would swallow it up completely. Right, so opponent plays Venge. That takes an A in front. It takes a D at the end, which I've got. But I'm not seeing anything better than Rawl for 33. And when you've got B, W, and W, you're certainly looking to play off two of those three, and the two W's are the best to get rid of if you can. So Rawl for 33. And I note that I was keeping back the D for Venged for column 15. The Y and the S's still elude me, as do the two blanks. Only 39 tiles left. So I'm inclined to engage in higher tile turnover if I can, to increase my chances of drawing a blank. But that's difficult when you have racks like this one. Wow, low scoring play by opponent, and that strongly suggests to me that the 5 tiles he's kept are pretty good. I'm not sure that knowledge helps me particularly. So, where are the floating vowels on the board? And is there anywhere super hot for the X? I don't mind the X staying on my rack. I can hopefully score with that when I have some more vowels. The E of quaver looks promising. Can I reach the double word square? 14 minutes on my clock. Wow, I don't think I can. Certainly not with the B in that spot. I could play box, but I'm not far enough ahead for that to be a good play. I could sort the rack out, as in sorting it out and turn over tiles and get 20 points by playing Brond. Just wondering if it may only take an S, but I think this is good. Brond for 20. And I draw the Y for quavery, so opponent has now got to, well, hopefully there's a non-crude version of this, but it's not coming to mind, but the phrase I was thinking of is piss or get off the pot, because if he doesn't play in row O right now, I'm going down with Xylan or Lynx. But supposing row O is taken out, and it's not. Fantastic. And though does not take a front hook. Fantastic. So, do I have anything better than Lynx? Lynx gets doubled, but the whole word doesn't get tripled. So I'd be better off playing any play with the X, which makes quavery and gets doubled. Is there such a play? And I could also contemplate putting an S on the end of quaver. Wow, I do have the option of playing slangy and retaining the X. Do I want to do that? Well, let me look at score and rack leave. So Lynx is 44, which is actually better than I was expecting, and the rack leave's okay. Slangy, 52, 8 more points, burning the S, keeping the X, increasing my chances of drawing a blank by 50%. Quite tempting. Let me put this back. Is there anything better than slangy? Ah, well, I think there is. What about Xylans? For 67. Fantastic. I had a moment of doubt about that. Obviously, very nicely, completely eliminated when the move is not rejected. Now, I draw another S to compensate for the one I've just burnt. I have a 120-point lead. And do I have a bingo through this E? Not sure I do. Non-aged is good, but that doesn't take an S. What about the T of though? No, not seeing anything there. A 7-letter play would currently play making ois. Not seeing anything. What about the D? That would have to have D in second place. Not seeing anything. So, bingo-y tiles, but they just don't go particularly well together. And nor do I have a high-scoring tile to go above this Y. Row N is a 50-point lane for the right 5-letter play. Maybe a play ending OM. Still a 7-letter lane in row B, hooking onto the T of Cruft. But that would be face value and opening up access to the triple word squares in the top row. Great, just 15 points for opponent, 20 tiles left, including both blanks, so the point remains about playing off a lot of tiles. I'm just wondering about playing non-aged. or nonaged, not quite sure what it means, for only 12 points. I'm taking out the E as a bingo floater. I'm taking out the Y in terms of the hotness of row N, as mentioned. And I'm turning over 6 tiles, perhaps the most important point of all, when there are 2 tiles from an unseen pool of 20. Although I suspect, given opponent's last few moves, that at least one of those blanks is on his rack. However, that would just emphasise the importance of taking out the E floater. Wow, what a beautiful rack. Absolutely exquisite. Surely I have a bingo here. And if I don't, it is simply a nice rack. I will have a ton of options. So there are 7-letter lanes. There's row K ending in S or Z. There's row B beginning with a vowel. There's the T of though for an 8. There's row L. But with all these lanes, do I have a bingo? Nothing has immediately come to mind. 14 tiles in the bag. So I think in the first instance, I will look for 7s. Tackism, does that play? No, and I think mastiche is its anagram. That doesn't play either. Now, vowels particularly useful, bearing in mind that row B bingos have to begin with 1. So maybe this rack isn't quite as good as I initially thought. I think part of my enthusiasm for it was having played off 6 tiles. 6 random tiles can span the full spectrum from good to truly terrible. Well, that looks like something, but it's not come to mind. I don't think Hitman takes an S. Mishapped. Well, that doesn't play. Now, Thames, Thrimsa. Let me just conclude this, because I think there's a third anagram. Thames, Thrimsa, and does it begin with an A? Thyrams, it doesn't. Okay. Now, let me consider what opponent's done. He's provided a floating F in the first instance. Well, that doesn't assist. Let me just finish this exercise of looking for a 7. 10 minutes on my clock. Does this make something? No, I don't think it does. Azimuths through a U, no U. So let me put this back. I've still got 9 minutes on my clock. I can't see anything with the F, but opponent has provided a useful looking floater in the I, and I'm wondering about Hymasias. Hymasias certainly good, but is that already a plural? I think the easiest way to find out is simply to stick this down and see if it comes off. And it does. Let me just check the spelling. Yes. So the B is not a floater. Are there any new... Ah, well, of course, opponent has blocked thyrams and thams. Now, there is another lane, which I haven't considered, in row N, going through this R. So that would be H blank, R blank. No, not seeing anything. So I think the I is the most useful looking floater. 8 minutes on my clock. So let me run through the alphabet with an I in mind. I feel that this should be a productive exercise. Let me just pause because I've just noticed that I've got fish as a component part of a word. Let me see what the rest of the rack looks like. Meat, fish, not good. Malt. I'm just going to very quickly run through the alphabet in my mind. Nothing yet. No, I'm not seeing anything. So let me go back to the previous exercise of considering this rack plus an I. That would be mastiche onto an E. And I would have the I-E-S-T ending. So this rack plus an I. I think Samithi is just one M. And not enough tiles for... Let me just take this back. What about Isthmian? I think that works. Isthmian for 90. Bang! There was one there. Fantastic. 6 minutes on my clock, and I draw the second blank. Absolutely fantastic. So, I know I expressed confidence that there was a bingo through that eye, but it was starting to wane. And I didn't pursue that exercise because I got the H or the M, one of the two of them. The H, I think it was, my highest scoring tile tripled, so I wasn't going to score anymore. An opponent resigned. He can't take any more. Not surprising. Fantastic. Wow, and he's gone. Amazing. So, final score, 220 for me, 220 for my gone opponent, 405 for me, a winning margin of 185 points, so a huge, huge win. Let's see what I missed. Wow, what an epic finish. So just 2 tiles in the bag, so we didn't miss out on much action at the end of that. Now, this was opponent's opening rack. And he played Daihatsu. And I played Faijoa. And I could have got this is the same number of points by playing Fanjet, but with an inferior rack leave. So I prefer my play. Opponent's rack. So this is where he played Say for 41 points, and it does look like a play just to secure lots of points, which is absolutely fine. And he was not holding back an S or a blank. Wow, missed bingo. That is painful. Cantrips. It's an obscure word, but it's quite a common-ish Scrabble word because it's high probability, so it's one which you come across fairly early on when you start learning words. So, well, a missed bingo, nothing more to say about that. Opponent's rack plays Cruft, and now I have a slightly easier bingo to spot. And I take a slight lead. Opponent has Q and V, and without an S or a blank plays Quaver to get rid of those 2 non-bingo-y tiles. Now I have Tenerini, but there was also Erionite. And I know Tenerini, I could have played it lower for more points and partially obstructing the Quaver hook, so that might have been worth doing. area knight, M3, through the E. Yep, and a bunch of other options. Fortunately, I spotted one of them. Opponent plays Venge. And now I play Roll for 33, but B11, Blood was available for more points, but keeping the W. So is BDN 6 points better than NW? I would say no. I think NW is going to be worth maybe minus 3 or 4. And BDN 0 or minus 1, it's not that fabulous. So I think Blood, in terms of score and rack leave, probably best, and probably best in any event because this is quite a hot spot and Blood hampers opponents' use of this triple word square, which isn't massively dangerous anyway. Except, now I say that in the context of playing from the R, but given the hooks for Venge, then column 15 is quite hot and Rule does take that out. So I think there are pros and cons for both of these moves. Opponent's rack plays IO, so let's go back. I envisaged him holding on to a powerhouse. In fact, he was removing duplicates and leaving a vowel-heavy rack leave, but of bingo-y tiles. Now I am short on vowels, and Zenon was there. That would have been the play. What do I do? Well, I play Brond for 20, keeping NX, but Zenon certainly a better play. Opponent plays though, and now things change. At this point, I've got a 60-point lead, but that's about to get doubled with Xylans. Opponent's rack plays G, and wow, not much on offer here. Rack leaves not fabulous, scores nothing to write home about. So I played non-aged for probably far too little. N2 Dogan. Yeah. Dogan sticks a D in the open. It disrupts this D, which wasn't massively dangerous. It leaves this E alone. But I think the score and rack leave, well, I think taking account of all considerations, Dogan probably is better than non-aged, but non-aged certainly does have its merits. Now, opponent's rack is just not maturing into a bingo. He plays fibre. And wow, there's a ton of bingos here. Gosh. So, I played Isthmian for 90, but F1, Man Shift was available. Really? 1, F. Through the F. There was a bingo through the F. Wow. Okay, I missed that and I played Isthmian. But then Isorhythm, Thiamines, Miss Faith. All of these are through, in column 2, are through the I. And Smithy's plays. Because, yeah, I was contemplating it not playing with the I as the first I of Smithy's, but it does with the I as the second. And Smithy also plays as a 7 because of ST. T doesn't just take vowels in front, it also takes an S. So, absolute ton of bingos there. And look at the last one, Atheism. Okay, so fortunately, I did find one, but I made a bit of a meal of doing so. And this was the point when opponent bailed. He was nearly 200 points behind, and there are pretty much no bingo lanes left on the board, and the game is over. So, absolutely blistering game, lots of bingos, and many thanks to my opponent for the game. I hope you enjoyed watching that game, and I will see you next time.